Tell me about the organization you currently work for and the work you do for that organization. And would you, both of you need to think about this, advise that every organization have not necessarily a big data department, but something similar in order for them to understand all of this information that's coming through them?
And I'll actually contextualize it in terms of the work that we're doing. So a lot of times when we're walking into rooms, a lot of the briefs that we get is, I don't know my customer, or my data is very fragmented. It sits across various departments. Sales has their own, marketing has their own. So I'll give an example. A couple of months back, the bank I bank with, some random guy called me. He was like, hi. And it was in the middle of a meeting. So I got 2 missed calls. So I was like, maybe this is an emergency. Let me call back. So I stepped out of my meeting to call back. And hi, I'm calling you from XNX Bank. I'd like to offer you a loan facility. and I got so frustrated. I got so frustrated by it because, one, it was in the middle of a meeting.
Yes.
I thought it was an emergency. I do have a relationship manager with this bank.
Yes.
So why am I being called for a loan facility by someone who's not my relationship manager? Because you have the data. My relationship manager ideally should sit with this data where she looks and she sees, I know Evelyn because she has a personal relationship with me. She knows we've had conversations around investments, right? So maybe if she was given that information, she'd use it more usefully, and maybe she'd have a higher chance of converting me because she understands me and she has access to the data that matters to her.
Yes.
But then the problem is,
some random person called and just irritated you.
It was really frustrating because actually I did need this product, but it came at the wrong time and also from the wrong person.
Yes.
And this person had absolutely no context because at that particular time I was having a completely different conversation with my relationship manager.
Yes.
So, but we can't really blame the relationship manager for not doing her job because she's not empowered. And that's what we realize when we go into organizations nowadays. So there seems to be this shift, especially with marketers and customer experience experts, where they're saying, I need to know my customer better. And this information is already, they've given me access to the information, but I'm not utilizing that data in a way that I can enhance my relationship with this customer. And instead of the organization now looking to acquire new customers, they're able to retain and make more money.
Yes.
So the conversation we're having right now with the organizations is, can we help you aggregate the data, make sense of the data, and then democratize access to that data within your organization so that every single person who's a touch point to the customer has access to that information. And that's a huge part of the work that we are doing, sitting with businesses and trying to understand, okay, so you're trying to build products, you're trying to onboard more technology, but what value do you have with the technology you have right now and the data that you have right now before you even outsource and get more? Can you get value from what you have right now?
I love that. I love the fact that digital integration is leading to an organization that is more efficient, is particularly conscious of costs, and is really, really touching on specific customers and their needs. I want to talk to you, Charlotte, and I want you to add on to that. I know you work for a very specific organization, and the work you do is really targeted about improving that specific organization, but perhaps you can give us some insights.
Yeah. So again, back to just to build on to what you've mentioned around customer service, you can imagine that in Nairobi today, as a telecommunication organization, we know exactly where we are struggling from a network quality perspective.
Yes.
So utilizing big data and AI, we're able to contact customers proactively before they even call us to say, hey, we are picking up from our triggers within Safaricom that we've got an outage in this area. Be aware that we are on it and we'll be resolving it soon. So there's the power of really being customer obsessed, making sure that at the heart of what we do, we put the customer first.
Zuri. I want to ask you about Zuri, because Zuri popped up the other day. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. I know I'm moving from side to side, but one of the biggest AI interactions that your customers are having, especially when they're in need, is Zuri.
Yes.
Tell me about Zuri and the work around making her interactive.
Yeah. So the goal for Zuri is to make Zuri an intuitive assistant. And the reason for that, again, it goes back to us being very customer obsessed. We want to make sure that when you call into our call center, you're not having to wait long, wasting your airtime and your time on top of it before you get help. Now, what if we train a bot to be as intelligent as a human, and this is now where AI comes in, simulating human intelligence by a computer system, make this thing as intelligent as possible and allow it to take as many calls from customers as possible so that the customer doesn't have to wait to get an assistant. And I'm incredibly blessed to work with an amazing team of data scientists. I mean, the other day we were demonstrating our intense model. So this is now the ability for the algorithm to pick up what you want from what you've typed out as a query.
Yes.
And they were amazed that it can actually pick up even Sheng.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't matter what you put there.
Yes.
It'll tell you, are you looking to be assisted for upgrade, or are you looking to buy fiber?
So you don't have to have perfect grammar.
No.
In order to interact with Zuri.
And that's what we're trying to push for. It's all about this digital inclusion agenda, to say, don't just limit it to people who can speak English and do so eloquently, but also people that speak Swahili, but all sorts of other languages or combinations of Swahili.
Yes.
So, and that thing was just incredible. We literally put this thing on the spot and said to some of the investors, type in whatever Sheng you want to put in here.
Yes.
And it did give a very intuitive answer. One, it talks to digital inclusion. That is, everybody is included in being assisted quickly through this technology. But also, it saves our costs. Now, suddenly, we don't have to spend money on 500 people waiting to assist their customers, but we've got now AI helping us to do so, and therefore the customer feel like this organization actually takes the time to engage with me.
I absolutely love that. Maybe you can add on, Evelyn.
Absolutely, actually, because a huge part of also the products that we build are bots that actually support the engagements with customers, so that the engagements are in real time, that you don't have to either queue, you don't have to hold on line for someone to get back to you, that those conversations are had in real time. And the conversation really went from bots that told you, okay, press 1 to do X, press 2 to do Y. Then we sort of like moved a bit of the workload from customer experience, and they were able to build more meaningful relationships with customers. But then now it's actually intelligently, as you said, intelligently driving those conversations, and then also learning from those conversations. So technology-wise, that's where we're going, and we're seeing the market shift. So a lot of companies are now asking, can we have bots that actually have conversations with our customers? Because what happens with limited step-by-step is the response is determined by what you determined, right? So, but then now they're actually now getting access to this data, and they're learning what customers are actually looking for without having to invest too much manpower in it.
Charlotte has a strategic advantage in that everybody knows Safaricom. Evelyn, really quickly before we take a break, tell me about the organization you work for.
Right. So Belva Digital started off as a performance marketing agency. We actually turned, there are so many birthdays. We turned 10 this week. So, but then what happened was every time we walked into rooms, we always had a situation where we had to either bring in a new technology business. So we had to build a technology arm. So Belva Digital is now building an R&D, tech R&D business called Growth Lab, which is what we're heading. And our business is to build technology that supports customer experience, and technology that also supports marketing and operations.
What's the URL?
belvadigital.com.